Hey guys, what's up? 2-Bit Jesus here, and I'm back, and I wish I had a better subject to talk about. I know it's been a long time since I've done a 2-Bit Talks. It's been at least a month or two, but this came out, and I really felt the need to talk about this. And again, sorry, and hopefully in the future I'll have different things to talk about. But this is something that I feel needs to be talked about, and I don't care if it's not popular. So, President Game Show host has decided to blame video games for these mass shootings that have happened. Also, mental illness, which is an actual problem that we should look into. Maybe President Game Show host shouldn't have cut funding to mental illness research for his tax cuts. That's just a suggestion. But yeah, I'm sick and tired. I mean, this is just a distraction. This is, hey, look, squirrel. And it really is only going to work on, say, the Fox News type of audience, the older generation that don't understand video game media. The fact that studies have shown there's no real connection between, say, gun violence and video games. This is just the same tired old attacks that have happened time and time again on media. I mean, you can go back to comic books. They dealt with a similar problem. Hell, even movies. You know, you go to watch a violent movie, you don't come out and go, oh, I really want to kill a guy. The same thing. You play a game that is very violent, say Doom. That doesn't make me want to go out and buy a shotgun and start shooting people's heads off. Like, there's no connection there with that. People aren't violent from playing. People don't become violent from playing violent video games. That just doesn't happen. At least the vast majority of people. Again, this is just a distraction from the major issues. Gun control being a major issue in this country. I'm talking, of course, about the United States. Hey, you know what? Japan, they have violent video games. Great Britain, they have violent video games, but for some reason they don't have the same amount of gun violence that we do. So maybe it's not gun violence. Maybe you're just distracting here. So I'm going to go back to a video I did in 2016 where I said that our community here, our video game community, if you will, was not as engaged in the conversation back then as they should have been. Because all I really saw, people really didn't talk about it or acknowledge what was going on. People, if they did talk about it, they just, they're two terrible choices, talking about Clinton and Trump, or they just, said it's just terrible all around. They didn't really engage in it, and I said we should have been more engaged because this type of stuff does affect us. Let's go down the list. Let's see, video games are being blamed for gun violence. Okay, so that affects us, our little community here. There's tariffs that are possibly going to be put in place that will raise the price of hardware, video game hardware. So, okay, yeah, that does affect us. So there's two examples of it affecting us, and then I always hear, I don't want, get politics out of my video games. Too late. Politics are already in our video games. You can even look as far back as, say, Final Fantasy VII, which is about climate change and an evil corporation that is responsible for it and part of the Earth dying. Let's go even recently, Mafia 3. That is about the socio-economic and even cultural conditions of the South in the 1960s. That has a lot of political commentary in it, and that's just one game. I could probably, if I look into it, find a lot more examples. So politics are already in our video games. This affects us. I mean, even go down to how many people agree that EA and Activision are evil-ass corporations that freaking screw over their workers, the developers. They try their best to screw over the consumers, that they're giving us shittier and shittier products and video games. It's a race to the freaking bottom with them when it comes to them trying to make profit and give us as little content as possible. All of this ties into the crony capitalism that is pervasive in this country. So we agree that they're terrible, but they're not doing anything different than, say, other companies are doing out there. So we are connected to this. we should. I'm not saying make your channel entirely about politics. I'm just saying don't act like we're disconnected from it. Don't act like we're isolated. We are very much connected to the larger and wider world. And I think that we should, and I stand by what I said back in 2016, we should be a little bit more engaged. We should say something when we see like what I'm doing now, where these freaking old tired dudes from the mid 20th century are sitting there saying, oh, it's video games that are the problem, and they're not acknowledging the real 21st century problems of gun reform and mental illness. And that's what I'm speaking on. We should look more into that. Screw those old dudes blaming video games, because it's not video games. So anyway, guys, sorry for the bummer video. Hopefully the next 2-Bit Talks will be, a bit happier, but I really had to talk about this. Sorry, I'm a bit upset, but this news really upset me. This has actually been boiling up for a while, because there's just been news after news, and I really just wanted to talk about this. But yeah, that's it for me today. As always, stay safe, and this time I mean it more than ever, because if you live in the United States, you have a higher chance of being in a mass shooting, I think, than anywhere else. So please stay safe. And of course, as always, play on.